off, so whenever you do your safety people.
Oh, okay.
And he knows the stand.
Yeah, all right.
I'm on.
Okay, I'm on.
Yep.
Okay, I want to get one sip of water.
We're
Okay.
going to stand at the beginning.
Yeah, let's just stand there. Are you?
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Well, I was hoping I would get a response back. How about good evening, everyone? My name's Nishad Kamali, and I'm your District 2 City Council member, which covers Telfair, River Park, New Territory, and a little bit of First Colony. And with me today,
Good evening. I'm Carol McCutcheon, Sugar Land City Council member, District 2, and my district is Avalon, Brazos Landing, Commonwealth, Avalon at Telfair, portion of Telfair, and a good part of First Colony. And so I'd also like to recognize the other council members here tonight. We have William Ferguson, City Council member at large, position 1. Suzanne Watley, Council member District 1. Stuart Jacobson, Council member District 3. Sorry, I have to think about that for a second. And then our mayor is hiding in the background, Mayor Joe Zimmerman. He's back there. Okay, so thank you all very much for coming tonight.
this is so nice. So nice that we can get together again. It's been a long time and have an open dialogue with our citizens. You know, COVID put us back a little bit. We did some Facebooking live and all this other stuff, but what thrills me more than anything is we have more residents here today than we have actually staff. And that's what normally happens. Tuesday evenings, when we do a city council meeting at 5:30, we're always here, the first, third, and fourth Tuesday evening. We have 1 resident, 16 staff members, 7 city council members. So being a part of the community is so important, and we're so happy to see you here, whether it's the good or the bad. That's why we get paid the big bucks, which is 0, to be your city council members.
Yeah.
So-
And we love feedback. Like I said, whether it's positive, whether we're doing things great, or whether things need to be improved or changed, we'd love to hear from everybody. And so I'd like to spend just a minute to let you know how the format will be tonight. Nishad and I are going to talk about strategic outcomes for a few minutes. And after that, we're going to have a Q&A. And then at 6 o'clock, we're going to have, what's next on that? The
Environmental.
the redevelopment. How did I forget that? We're redevelopment, and so then there'll be a Q&A after that. So if there's any questions about, say, Track 5, for example, that'd be a good time to ask that. And then about 6:30, there is going to be staff's going to talk about solid waste and also the new stormwater compliance fee, and there'll also be a Q&A after that. And if there are any questions that you have that don't fall under redevelopment or the public works piece of the stormwater and the new solid waste contract, you can ask us those questions during our part now after we finish talking about strategic outcomes. Instead, we're here to answer your questions, and if for some reason we run out of time, you know, we're going to be willing to stay here, you know, afterwards and answer questions as long as we can. And you can also write in questions, and we'll keep answering questions even for several days afterwards if we need to.
And this is being streamed on YouTube right now as well. So there are folks out in the city that are watching this, and they'll be able to send in questions to us. And we'll have staff here that will give us those questions. We'll try to answer those as well. If we are not able to answer everything, as Carol said, we will make ourselves available after this tonight. And then I know Avalon and Telfair, you all are here for your reasons. And we'd like to also, and I've spoken to a few of you outside, we will come to your place and we will have a meeting with you with the right staff, or we can do something here as well. But we're going to answer some of your questions that you have tonight as well, because you've taken time out of your busy schedule to be here. So with that, let's get into our strategic outcomes. Strategic outcomes came about in October of 2021 when the City Council went on a retreat. And when we went on our retreat, we came up with 8 underlying items that we feel in 2021 will move our city straight forward. These are strategic and big and broad in nature, but this allowed our staff to focus on certain things at this City Council. And I will tell you, we are a very, very cohesive City Council under the leadership of our mayor and our City Councilman. We get together really well. You see us out in public. If you follow us on social media and anything else, we really get along. But we also differ, because we differ for you, our residents. We will do that behind closed doors to make sure that we come out with a unified message for our community. So looking into strategic outcome, oh, we missed one. You were supposed to sit over there. So let's before we do that, let's do that. Everyone close your eyes for a second. And I'm looking at you, so I want to make sure, Suzanne, you've got your eyes closed. What is your best life in Sugar Land? Now open your eyes. Think about it for a second. What is it that you feel that would lead you to a better life? David Cornett is in the audience, one of my constituents. So I picked on you.
Would like more options for hiking, bike trails, interconnectivity for recreational purposes. So that we like to go out and to walk around the neighborhood and be able to do that.
I love it. And William Ferguson and Joe Zimmerman are going to be your friends because they're going to ride you with the pump track that's coming very soon. And we've got our Fort Bend mountain bikers are doing some more very nice things in new territory that we're working through as well. Sapna.
What's my vision? I think Sugar Land is already sweet. How can we make it sweeter? Things are already happening. Like this weekend, I went to the new restaurant. It was hopping. There's so many people. There's a lot of things going. Sugar Land Town Center is very busy. I love that. And I think the one thing I want is I went to where we're sitting. I went to elementary school, middle school, high school, college, Albury, and stayed here within 20-mile radius. I want that for my children, and I heard Roshan said he wants to come back. I'm so excited because that's what I want.
And you'll see a big portion of today's content that we're going to talk about is redevelopment. Redevelopment. So anybody else want to give, when I had you close your eyes, and anybody else want to volunteer? I happen to know Sapna, and yes.
So Sugar Land is like Fortune, in Fortune magazine they have like 25 places, one of the 25 places
To live.
I want to feel like that in my neighborhood.
Okay.
Safe and easy access. That's
Excellent. Excellent. And we're going to talk about some of that, what you mentioned, safe. We're going to introduce someone here in a little bit as well. So let's get to our strategic outcomes. Sorry.
I got the slide deck.
I keep going to
So,
strategic.
That's right. You like our strategic outcomes. So, as most of you know, Sugar Land was a company town. And then in 1959, we were incorporated as a city. And the city has been known for government accessibility, openness, and transparency as we deliver the highest level of services to our residents. And we do this by committing to being thoughtful and bold in our thinking so we can make life here even sweeter, even better for our residents and businesses. And this is what is known as the Sugar Land Way. Okay, so last year, council went on a retreat about a year ago, and we came up with 8 strategic outcomes as part of our vision for the city. So first, we want to have a respected and influential government. We want to put people over politics. And as I just said, we want to be transparent, and we want to be here for our residents.
Our next objective was transportation. We want to stay connected, and we want to be convenient as well. David mentioned bike trails. That's part of it. How do we allow people to utilize their bikes to get from point A to point B in a safe manner? How do we make sure that we work with our partners and our surrounding partners like Fort Bend County to make sure that we have transportation? I'm not saying we need Metro here. That's not what I'm saying. We need to be able to go from point A to point B without too many roadblocks in there as well.
So our third strategic outcome is sustainable and resilient infrastructure. And we do that because of our long-term planning efforts. And we have consistent investment in our infrastructure, which is really, really important. And we have strong regional partnerships, and we also engage in public-private partnerships.
Next is about the people. We want to make sure that we're welcoming and we're engaged. Think about what we're doing here. We've brought you into City Hall so we can welcome you, engage you, and hopefully, here's Paulina right here in the front row. Paulina, can you raise your hand and turn around? Hi, everyone. We need volunteers. So you would work with Paulina and her team to come and say, I can step up, whether it's a small project or a big project. We need people to be involved. It's not the 7 city council members. It's not the 850 plus employees that work for our city, but it's all of us to help answer you, the city that what you read about, you want it to be. Come be a partner with us and come help us so we can map that out for you.
Next, we want to have a dynamic and fun culture. We have performance venues. Avalon at Telfair's favorite performance venue, Smart Financial Center. Sports and recreation, and unique retail, restaurant, and hospitality. Just before we came here, we went to a ribbon cutting at BB Italia, which people are really excited about. And we recently had a ribbon cutting for Department of Wonder. So we're having all sorts of exciting new businesses and restaurants open up in the city. And we also have a lot of really fun events and outdoor celebrations, such as the International Kite Festival.
Economy. We want to keep it thriving. We don't want it to go down. And you'll see some evidence later on as we talk, because as cities age, they tend to go down. Well, we're at a plateau in our city where we need to keep it up and going. Carol stole my thunder. Just a little while ago, we were at the ribbon cutting of BB Italian. We're excited to have the Department of Wonders. Sapna mentioned the town center. 3 years ago, the town center was not the way it was today. Every Friday night, every Saturday night, just about every Sunday, there's something happening in this lawn. And if you all came from the front today, you saw the Christmas tree going up. It's exciting times. I believe December 3rd or December 4th, we're going to light that baby up, and we invite you to come and have fun with your entire family and come see the Christmas tree lighting. But we want to make sure that our economy continues to thrive. We have companies like Porsche coming in. You may have seen them break ground right at 59 in the Derry Ashford area. They're going to build a 6-story building there. Beautiful tax revenue for us as well. So we want to make sure we get the right businesses in our city.
So the number one priority for our city council is to have a safe and secure community. And I would like to take this opportunity to introduce our new police chief, Chief Mark Poland. You can stand up and wave. Thank you. We're really glad to have you here, Chief Poland. So one of our goals is for Sugar Land to be ranked one of the safest cities in the entire nation. And we want to use the latest innovation to address criminal activity. And we want to ensure that our first responders have the best training and the best equipment so they can be safe while they keep us safe. And we want to provide world-class police, fire, and EMS services to our residents and our businesses. And we also want to make sure that our municipal facilities, and particularly our IT infrastructure, are safe and secure in this day of all sorts of hackers.
Very good. And our final big strategic outcome is finance. We want it to be strong and viable. Scott Butler is here. He's our chief finance guy. He counts all the pennies. Raise your hand there, Scott, so they can see you. He came to us recently from Arizona, if I'm not mistaken, and he is responsible for putting together the almost $400 million taxpayer budget. It's a big budget. And we just passed our budget just in October, well, September, started in October. They're already working on next year's budget and looking at 5 years ahead as well, because that's how we have to plan, because it's taxpayer dollars. But we don't get 0% interest loans from different municipalities to build roads if it wasn't for our strong books. And Scott and his entire team, that's what they do, is maintain a strong bond rating in order for us to get low interest loans, and we're able to also sell these back quick enough to save you and me and Carol I just got my 5-minute sign here and she threw me off. I'm sorry. But it's okay, Paulina. It's big and red. So it looks like we have 5 minutes before we have to get to Q&A. So we're going to move to the next slide. But that is the 8 strategic outcomes that we went in 2021 and this city council did together. So we need you to be involved. I already said it, so I'm not going to stay too much on this slide. We have lots of boards and commissions. Paulina's here. She'll take names and addresses. We want you to get with her, all types of different task force that you can do.
Okay, so changing a community, as they say, is not a spectator sport. It's something where we want the entire community to participate in our vision for the future growth of our city. And as you can see, the big QR code there, if you want to find out more, you can scan that and it will take you to the strategic outcomes page on our city website.
So, we talked about strategic outcomes, but we want to be bold. We don't want to be the city that has First Colony Mall with 5 mom and pop stores. Macy's not there, Dillard's not there, because it could happen if we don't react today. And when we went on this year's strategic outcome retreat, our staff took us to Plano, Texas. And we went and we saw a mall. Used to be called Vista Ridge Mall. Now it's called Music City Mall. It probably had 12 tenants in it in an entire mall. Entire mall, 12 tenants. We can't allow that in our city. We won't allow that in our city. We won't allow First Colony Mall to look like that. In other areas, which, by the way, are not looking too good. And so we're looking to redevelop our city to make sure that the bell curve doesn't go down, but continues to go up to give us all the life that we want, including my millennial kids. I want them to come back to Sugar Land at age 23, 24 as well.
Yeah. So, yes, let's be innovative and let's be Sugarlanders.
So now,
yeah, so now we are ready for the
little Q&A.
Q&A. So if it doesn't pertain to redevelopment or the stormwater compliance fee or solid waste, you can ask us questions and they will have microphones and you can ask that. Or also, you can scan this QR code that you got on your agenda when you came in. You can type the question and it will be sent to Cindy here and she will relay the question. Or if you're old school, you can fill out the town hall comment form. And hey, there's one right there, and you can get it to Jessica right here. Just hand it in to Jessica. So we've got many ways to ask questions. So, who is
There's
first?
First question right here.
First question. Okay, Avalon at Telfair. Yes.
Yeah, hi. I'm Pawan. I'm a resident of Avalon at Telfair. My question about the Macy's thing that you just mentioned, or the First Colony Mall. Do we have any active foreign investors trying to support the existing businesses?
You know, I don't know the answer to that. I don't know about foreign investors. The mall is doing really well. I mean, it's at 100% occupancy today. You don't see any empties. What I brought up, Macy's, is the future. Now, this has happened right down the street. Those of you that know Westwood Mall, it's no longer a mall. Greenspoint, Sharpstown, those are things that are right down the street. Greenspoint's very far away, but Sharpstown and Westwood are right down the street. Here's what we have going for our city, though. The people that are in this room, the education level that's in this room, the incomes that you bring in this room. We're Sugar Land. We don't even need it to become A-Leaf, which is right down the street. And we can do that, as Sapna mentioned, by allowing our kids to come back here and grow here.
So, Devin, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
Hi, I'm Devin Rodriguez with the Economic Development Department. I am not aware of specific information about like foreign investors or anything like that. We do have a very close relationship with the mall. We actually incentivized for the outdoor development, lawn area, and restaurants that they built several years ago. So we are continuing to work with them. Retail is always evolving, and so you always have to be changing and doing new things. But we regularly check in with them, and just like Councilmember Kamali said, they actually are doing very well. They're the only mall in Fort Bend County, but we are constantly having discussions with them on new opportunities as they come forward.
Great. Next question. Alpana.
Okay. I have a lot. So my name is Alpana Patel. I have been a resident of Sugar Land for over 20 years, and the reason we moved here because of quality of life. And I am a product of A-Leaf, so I have moved upwards.
So am I.
Yes, and I love where I live. But I have grievance today with city officials because we have been dealing with a lot of traffic issues due to smart financial events. And this past 4 days have been very difficult. A lot of us here have dealt with situations which impact our safety, our securities, which is not good when we're paying a lot of taxes to be dealing with those situations. I have put in emails to both of y'all, Joe Zimmerman, city manager. I haven't heard back. I know y'all are busy, but I would love to have a face-to-face meeting. Also, this traffic congestion brought on some aggressions by other traffic. One person sitting here almost got hit a couple of times by someone, and the police officers are doing a great job. We're not upset with them, but I think the city planning is poor. The infrastructure is not there. And I think when they put the smart financial, Riverstone was not quite built out as much as it is today. So we need serious consideration on what we are dealing with each week, sometimes 4 times a week during a work week. We are parents with young children. We can't get in and out for an hour to go from Avalon at Telfair to Kroger. That is ridiculous. If we have aging parents that live with us, they have minor emergencies. What is the city's stand on if I don't need an ambulance? Yeah, my question is, how do I get to a nearest hospital, which is 5 minutes away from my house if it takes me an hour?
Yeah. So one thing that we're going to, well, thank you for the question, but yes, Smart Financial Center seats about 6,400 people. It is a really large venue, and many times it's on a smaller configuration, but Thursdays, Saturday, and Sunday nights, it was on the largest configuration, and it was completely sold out. So the traffic was unusually bad there. And Thursday night was the Korean Pops concert with a lot of 13 and 14-year-olds there who didn't drive. So the parents dropped them off. And then, so instead of having just the normal traffic leaving, you had a lot of parents coming to pick up the kids, looking for their kids, and then leaving, which really, really caused, it was a train wreck situation. Our police and public works have worked really hard to do as much as they can, but we need to work. We've got new management at Smart Financial Center, and we're going to continue working with them to see ways that they can additionally improve it. But one of the big things that's going to help is we approved the widening of University Boulevard with the GO bond election back in 2019, and that is going to widen University between New Territory Boulevard, and then all the way down to about 1,000 feet past Lexington on the Wentworth side of Lexington. And when that widening comes and some other road improvements we're going to do, that's going to make a big difference to mobility in that area. Now that's slated to be finished in fall of 2024, and I've asked the city, is there anything we can possibly do to try to accelerate that? And then another thing.
Let me add on to that. So that's 2 portions that she brought up, and I spoke to several of you outside as well. This meeting's not going to resolve it tonight. Carol and I, City Council, our staff, we're committed. We are committed to you that we will come to you or we'll bring you here for another meeting with the proper departments in the room, our police, our public works, Smart Financial if they need to be here as well, to make sure that we're all working cohesively together as a team to make it better for you. Because the lane's not going to happen for another year and a half. That's not going to resolve it. What's going to happen is we come together with ideas and we start implementing those today, even as early as the next concert. This past weekend, when I got issues and complaints, I immediately over the weekend involved Cindy Dees, and she got police involved, and we had extra police officers at Wentworth in University, and you all have told me that you saw the officers. They probably weren't needed there, but we did it because we heard it and we got it there for you immediately, and that's how we reacted over this weekend.
And I did the same thing.
Right.
I got the emails. I was immediately contacting the city. Let's get extra police there. And one thing that can be done is for more people to use the advanced parking ticket option, because you can buy parking online when you buy your ticket, but a lot of people are waiting to buy their parking ticket once they get there, and that's something that's slowing down. So we've got to see, is there any way we can encourage people who go there to buy their parking tickets in advance, just so it's not slow things down. But
Time for one more.
okay, yeah. So one more question. Okay.
You want to come over here? Good.
Kumar Vakamodi. I've been a resident here since 1981. and thanks for the opportunity today. So talking about the economy and the growth and development, while some parts of the city is growing with new businesses, we see parts of the city like Randall's closed down, there's nothing there. There's all along Lexington Boulevard, there's a lot of empty shops there. And high-end stores like Williams Sonoma have left Sugar Land.
Right.
So, Trader Joe, everybody wants it here.
We do.
Yes, we do.
For a lot of reasons, they're not coming here. So I just wanted to see what's going on and why we have so much empty. While the economy is booming and people are spending money.
Sure.
Our city, I'm not saying this is still
Yeah.
better than a lot of other cities, but still a lot of empty stores.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
And I see the Randalls that are empty, and we see a lot of other empties. And believe me, I want a Trader Joe's here because I have to go to Katy in order to go. And Trader Joe's, and I know Mayor Joe Zimmerman worked on this previously with a previous city council member, Bridget. And they tried, and at that time, Trader Joe's told us no. But Trader Joe's is just one example. Our economic development team, and I know Devin's here too. Devin, I'll actually to come up as well.
Or do you want to save this for the redevelopment?
Do you want to save it
She's
for-
getting ready
for
to
that
talk about
portion?
redevelopment, so do you want to answer
We'll
it now?
save, we'll save it for you because she's gonna touch on
She's
that
going to
a little
touch
bit.
on this, and then she can address your question during her presentation, because that's going to coming up at 6 o'clock is redevelopment. Yeah, and we haven't given up on Trader Joe's yet, by the way.
No, I'm not done.
Okay,
I'm
so
not
we
done
can
with
do
it.
one more quick question, and then we'll need to. Okay.
So regarding this traffic issue,
No, I got you. I can talk loud enough.
You're good. I can hear you.
Well, the live stream people
Just,
need
we
to hear.
wanted to ask you one more question regarding the traffic issue. We're fine with tabling and having a meeting, but you have no idea our WhatsApp group is like lit up every 10 seconds. So a couple of things that we were thinking is the guard that stands right at the, from Kroger coming back home, he shuts it off way too early. Could we suggest that he shut it off a little bit later?
Right when he gets out,
And
yeah.
two, sometimes the people are not Sugar Land employees that are working there. Can we not ask Smart Financial to put the contract to us and bill them? Because I think that would change a little bit, because that would be an easy fix. And then, I don't know who controls the speed on University, but could we take it down to 40 like the rest of Riverstone is? That could help, because the roads are not going to come in for a while.
Yep. So 3 very important things that you brought up. I see Doug Boker, who's our assistant city manager. He controls police in that as well. Can we answer that question and give you the response you want right now? No, right? But can we come together and get some formulations together tomorrow or the next day and the next week before the next event happens? Just like we did this past weekend, and we had an officer there. We can get to you and get before the next project comes. And Chief is swallowing, drinking from the fire hose already, but this is, you see the residents, Chief. They've come out in numbers. This is a high priority, and Chief is nodding his head, and he's on board for a reason. He's on board.
And-
Okay.
In regards to that, I know y'all are short on time, but I'm going to take some time because I have called too many times to the police officers, and I don't have grievance with you. This is all to do with the city planning. It is poor planning.
Okay.
It is nothing to do with these wonderful officers who have been working at the city. Okay, they're doing a wonderful job. I think putting that officer at Wentworth is useless. It is money wasted. It does not do anything for us. This is just brushing off the problem, saying, here, we put an officer. No, not good enough. We're going to have this next week. We've been having this constantly. Somebody's going to get hurt. People are getting aggressive when they're driving. This nice lady sitting next to me almost got hit yesterday. People are flying on University, driving 60, 70, 80 miles. What are we doing? No traffic tickets. They are used to that. There's nobody doing anything for us. We can't get out of our neighborhood. And
And
so
another-
just putting an officer is not good enough. This needs to be handled by the mayor, the city manager. This has to be planning. And now I hear they're planning to sell the land next to Smart Financial. What are the plans? We need to know. We're not going to be sandwiched in our homes during school week.
So
We have grown parents. We have emergencies. What is the city going to do if one of us need an ambulance or we need to get out of our neighborhood?
we hear you loud and clear. I want you to know that. The officer statement that you just made a minute ago, one of the residents asked for it. Carol and I both got that message. we reacted because someone asked. Is that the solution? No. As I've stated earlier, the solution is we all come together. We get in a room with the right people this week. I'm ready. I'm ready to get together this week.
What time, what day, where?
I would,
We'll have-
I look, Cindy Dees is here, and we can, I think Mayor's going to join us.
Joe is coming up here.
Mayor's going to come up as well.
Decided we need help.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to deal with Highway 6.
Right.
Right? And so it used to take 5 to 7 minutes to get out of the neighborhood in the morning. Now, sometimes it's almost 19 minutes.
And when we talk about planning, I guess what we're talking about is the fact that we all know that Riverstone is mature, Riverstone is growing, but why is it that the city only plans to extend Lexington from basically up to Lexington, University up to Lexington to 3 lanes? Why doesn't the city think about extending University all the way up? Did you get my point?
University till where?
I think he's talking about the new Territorial Boulevard to
Commonwealth, right?
The other
Falcons
side.
Feed on the other
what we
west
see.
side.
Let me step in for a minute before this goes any further. So we heard you loud and clear. The officers are a temporary solution until we can develop a permanent solution. Takes time to develop a permanent solution. You don't just go in and widen the highway. So it takes time, and the last thing that we want to do is spend a bunch of money on an interim solution that doesn't work. So we heard what you said. We're working through that. We've got a temporary solution now with the officers, and then we'll develop a permanent solution that addresses the bigger concern. Yes, sir.
Temporary solution I think that would benefit us. For me, I live there and I love to run the park across the street in the morning. I have 4 kids that love to ride their bikes. I know that we have to consider everyone and everyone's needs, and I'm well aware of that, and I appreciate you guys for being very conscientious. Y'all are very responsive and have been very respectful every time I reached out to you, and I appreciate you for that. But, we talked about having these park spaces, and the gentleman there talked about bike spaces, right? All these great trails, but we don't have access to across the street in a very efficient manner and safe manner. It's scary. Even when I'm by myself, I always wonder if this is going to be the last time I'm going to make it back to see them. It's scary. These cars are flying down. I know we can't control that. I'm for what I do for a living, I know we can't control everyone. But we could do things to help us get across the street. I don't know what the idea would be. I don't know what would be possible, what you guys think. It might not be just a regular walking across the street. There might be something over or under. I don't know if that's even possible. I'm not an engineer, but I think that would make us as people that live in that neighborhood feel that y'all are trying to help us a little bit until we get the big solutions. Just something so we can enjoy the park.
Yeah, and I think that you're right in that. Hi, I'm Jessica Young. I work with them, and so does Cindy D. She's their liaison with city staff, and we agree with you in the sense that there are many options on the table to make that a safe space. And we do have. You're right. You may not be an engineer, but lucky for you, you pay for a lot of them at the city, and we're happy to give you those options. So if we could all just get together for that meeting, and we would love to lay out those options. And you had some great suggestions, and so did you. So if we could just kind of go through all those options, I think that we could come to a really cool conclusion when we work together. So
Let's wait until we develop the solutions before we have a meeting. Let's not have a meeting just to sit across the table from each other and stare at each other. We heard the community's concerns. We'll do some temporary measures that will address the short-term needs, and then we'll do longer-term solutions that will address the longer-term needs. And that'll be engineering, that'll be traffic management. We've got the right people here, and we've got some really smart staff. We'll look at a short-term solution that'll involve law enforcement, longer-term solution, engineering, planning, and traffic management. Then we'll have the meeting. I got the emails. I don't typically respond until I have an action plan. So when we get the action plan together and we understand all the issues, then we'll reach back out to the community and we'll have the meeting. We can absolutely, once we determine what the short-term solutions are, we'll communicate that to you. And we'll probably do that through staff on the website. Absolutely.
Yeah, one short-term solution, we just have a police detail on University Boulevard, and that would be something we could do in the future. And I've asked the city manager about a stoplight on University at Wentworth to revisit that.
Yep.
And the city is conducting a warrant study about a traffic light there, which would allow safe crossing there and help residents get in and out of the neighborhood.
Like small things without expenses. And ideas, if our community has some ideas, okay, who do we share it with?
Just email me, so
Email us.
and I'll get it to the city staff, and we'll work that into our solutions.
And we can control the speeds.
And even for the temporary solutions, I mean, there's multiple solutions that can be had. So having that on the table before we actually implement it will also be beneficial too, because we may have some input for you guys, because not every council member or not everybody that lives there that don't know what we deal with day to day. So we can provide some input. So if we can, even for the temporary solution, come to us and have that on the table as well to see what the options are, A, B, and C, and then we can help with that as well.
Okay.
I'm a hard of hearing resident, and it's been hard following these conversations. So can I make a request that when the speakers speak that they stand up? I also lip read, so that would help me. So, and also when people ask questions, it's all going to repeat the question back,
Sure.
so we know what you're asking.
We can do that.
Okay, thank you. So we can continue this conversation. Oh, would you like to say something,
Yeah,
Chief?
Chief.
Yes.
Hey, folks. I hear you loud and clear, and actually, this is one of the main reasons I even applied for this job, is this community, the community sense here that I get, and that's one of the reasons I even applied here. But I can tell you, coming from Northern Virginia, if you've ever been in Northern Virginia, there's traffic, and there's a lot of traffic. But one thing that I have some experience with are traffic calming measures, working with our city leadership, working with event managers, and coming together, as the mayor is saying and the council members are saying, to come up with a plan and a solution, one that, it's going to mirror our tax dollars appropriately and come up with a efficient plan and one that works, more importantly, one that works. Because not always just throwing more cops at a problem is necessarily a solution.
Exactly.
I can assure you, I definitely hear the concerns on speeding. Our command staff are here. We'll absolutely address that and look into that, because safety is, of course, our number one priority here. But I hear you loud and clear, at least from my role in this, and I'm committed to working with our leadership to come with a good solution.
Thanks, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Okay, thank you. So we can continue this discussion for quite some time, but we are 10 minutes behind schedule right now. So as I said earlier, we were happy to stay with you after 7 o'clock to continue this topic more, and we will be getting back with you about solutions. We've worked on those. So now we're going to go to redevelopment. And so we have Devin Rodriguez, and she is the Deputy Director of Economic Development. And, and then
I don't need the applause. Thank you.
Jim Calloway, Director of Special Projects, has also worked on a redevelopment with us.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay. So this is a little strange for me, because usually I'm on that side facing council, not on this side. But so we've got this life cycle up here on Sugar Land's life cycle. So we started as a small town, rapid growth. We're kind of at that growth peak right now. And so we have these choices about path 1 of redevelopment or path 2 decline. So we're really at this crossroads in this life cycle that we have as a city, which all cities come to eventually. And so we're at this point of reimagining growth. What does growth mean for Sugar Land for the future? And how do we continue to stay relevant and preserve the quality of life, services, amenities that we all enjoy here in Sugar Land? And as a part of that, we've got some choices that we need to make. So if you did not know, only 4% of the city's land remains undeveloped. So on the map here, you can see the black areas. That is all the undeveloped areas that we have in Sugar Land. We are mostly built out. And so we're going to have to look at, of the remaining land that we have, how do we make that land the highest and best use, the highest taxable value that we can make it? And the importance of that is that we need to make sure that we are sustaining the revenues off of the land that we have in order for us to continue to provide the high quality of services and amenities that we all enjoy now into the future. And part of that is we need three things to do that. So we need jobs, we need people to live here, and then we need residents and visitors to spend money. So this is our economic development impact cycle that I spend a lot of time talking to the community about. It all starts with our primary jobs, and then those jobs create demand for housing. That housing creates demand for other services, amenities, restaurants, retail, and that's how this, and then of that, those revenues all fund into providing the services for quality of life and amenities that we enjoy here. And this cycle works like this. This is how the economic development impact cycle works. And it has this cause and effect relationship. So that job, those jobs, which we have over 74,000 jobs in Sugar Land, we've done a tremendous job at growing the employment base here. We've actually had a 14% growth in employment in the last 5 years in Sugar Land. But it then creates that demand for housing for residents that then funnels into being able to have that demand for other retail service type amenities. So we're going to be focusing our redevelopment efforts in 5 main areas that we are calling regional activity centers. And these are the areas that we'll be focusing on how can we create the highest taxable value that I was talking about in order to sustain those revenues for high quality services and amenities. And then the best way to really to do that is for mixed use development. And with that, you'll see 2 main benefits. Keeping those low property taxes because we're sustaining that high taxable value, and then new amenities that come along with that kind of live, work, play, mixed use development dynamic. So this has been something that we've been going out to some of the neighborhoods about. It's really talking about that our priority is redevelopment. We've called it Sugar Land Reimagined, but we are exploring changes to regulations or other types of programs that we might try in order to encourage redevelopment here. And the most important thing is we're really, like I said, we need to have those 3 components. We need to have jobs, we need to have residents moving here and living here, and then being able to have those different types of amenities here. So some of the benefits of this is, I know some folks had talked about they want their kids to be able to come back here and live. Folks also talked about having amenities, other amenities, or filling retail stores with different types of stores. Sugar Land, we are not the only game in town like we were 20 years ago. Fort Bend County has grown tremendously around us. We are not the only shopping destination anymore, so we have competition, which we didn't have competition before. And so some of that is that we're going to need to try to continue to build those jobs, build new housing options in order to reinvigorate some of those retail areas that we have. One of the broader initiatives that we've been talking about is this, where I talked about the regulation changes, but this missing middle housing. Right now, we have 88% detached single family, and we have 7.6 of apartments, and we really don't have much of this, what we call missing middle. And so these are a variety of different housing options: duplexes, townhomes, cottage, urban homes. So we don't have a lot of those options here. Actually, if you go into the old Sugar Land area, there's a lot of this mix of housing that you see. And so we are looking at what are ways that we can encourage redevelopment in these areas, new housing that kind of is this mix of different missing middle housing, like I said, to bring that demand for those other retail uses that we would like to see. And so we're going to be looking at some of our regulations on how we can encourage redevelopment. Some of the other priorities that we're working on is the Imperial Historic District, redeveloping that. Also the Lake Point area. So if anybody's familiar with that, it's off of Highway 6, off of Flor Daniel, if you go back there. I mentioned some of the activity center, broader kind of implementation of that, which will include looking at some of our regulation changes. And then from a residential reinvestment perspective, we are looking at some pilot programs that might be able to encourage folks to reinvest into their existing housing. With that, I think I might have made up some time. And so I was asked if I can talk quickly. Jim, do you have anything to add before we go to Q&A? Okay. Oh, that's right. Yes. So about the retail question. So from a broader perspective, I had mentioned, and for those that might have missed it, this gentleman asked about what about some of our existing retail that is vacant or bringing new retail here. So I mentioned that Sugar Land's not the only game in town anymore. We are competing with other areas that have built around us. Retailers base their decisions, number one, on demographics, how many people are in an area, what is the income level of their shopper, what are the preferences of their shopper, and then second is what real estate is available in that area. So, does it meet my needs? This is a 50,000 square foot space, but I only need 10,000 square feet. If the landlord's not willing to, split up the space or something like that, or if there's other challenges, maybe the space isn't the right one for me, I'm going to have to look for a new option. So one of the things about our retail is that we need to complete that economic development impact cycle. We need to continue to attract new jobs here, and then we need to be attracting new residents with diverse housing options. Like I said, we don't have, we've kind of had this either or situation, and we really need to find some of these other options in between to not only encourage more residents, but being able to have our kids move back home. Maybe they don't want the 3,500 square foot single family home, but they would really like that townhome. And so expanding some of those housing options to bring other residents here and increase that buying power for our retailers. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Deepak Chandwani. I'm a resident of Avalon and Telfair. One of the things that you were mentioning here is as the city goes through the cycle, it's very natural. All cities go through. When the city is built, it caters to what's happening then and thinks strategically. If we reach the plateau, at least from what I'm seeing, you've gone to Plano, another city to visit is Frisco, which is now developing, and what they are looking at, what's current, what the demographic wants. Mm-hmm. Similarly, we as a city can think about what the new demographic wants to be able to incorporate that brings in the next set of growth. You have, a lot of energy companies and collaboration or the forums there. And also, the work from home is changing from the perspective of how we are seeing workplace. There can be so many new initiatives that brings in the residents or jobs combined from that perspective. Just a thought.
I don't think it was exactly a question per se. It was just a comment in general of looking to the future for what is the next demographic going to want and going to look for. And to that, one, I talked about we need to provide a variety of options for people. We need to not kind of have this or this, expand all sorts of different options and walkability and being able to go to these types of destinations easily that folks would like to go to. We do have in economic development just a couple of things. So we have this event called Cup of Joey that is a group of entrepreneurs and actually all sorts of business folks that come together and network once a month here in Town Square. And it's been tremendously successful at kind of building that networking of folks, whether they're entrepreneurship or whether they're from a very large company, and kind of building that coalition amongst people and having those types of discussions about what's next. Another thing is that we recently announced an incentive agreement to retain our office headquarters here in Sugar Land. We're having a lot of competition right now from the Energy Corridor and West Chase, where they've built a lot of new office space over the last few years. And so the competition is fierce in terms of cost. But we really want to retain our headquarters here and encourage them to renovate their office space into kind of what is the office space of today. And we recently did that with CVR here in Town Square. And so they're going to be investing in their office space and doing that open concept, more type of office space that folks are looking, that kind of next workforce is looking for. Other questions? Okay. Thank you.
So, as a city council member, one of the things that we get the most questions about is, what do you think? Anyone? What kind of questions do we get, or concerns? What was it? Trash. I get more complaints or requests is, when is big trash pickup day? Why Tuesday? Why not Thursday? So, I'm going to bring up Georgia Tate, our environmental manager, to talk about a big change, because we just finished a 10-year contract with Republic Waste, and we've signed another contract. She's going to go through that, but there will be some changes, and you have to perk up your ears and make sure this goes in that WhatsApp group as well. Georgia?
All right. Good evening, everyone. They saved the best for last. We're going to talk about stormwater and solid waste. Now, some of this information is a little bit technical. I'm going to try my very best to keep it short and sweet for you, but if you have any specific questions about your neighborhood or your property, please come find me afterwards and we will get you taken care of, okay? First things first, change is coming. I know we've heard that quite a bit tonight. We're talking a lot about long-term change. I'm going to talk a little bit more about short-term change that's actually coming in about 2 months. So we're going to talk about funding our city's stormwater program. We're going to talk about planning for the future of solid waste here in Sugar Land. And then we're going to talk about some of the tools that city staff and city council have put together to help you navigate those changes. Does anyone in the room know about the city's stormwater program, besides myself? Awesome, I got one. All righty. The city does have a stormwater program. We've had a stormwater program since 2007. Stormwater is different than your drinking water. Stormwater comes from the sky. It then hits our beautiful streets, parking lots, sidewalks, your wonderful lawns, and then it makes its way to our drainage system. And then once it enters our drainage system, it actually makes its way to our waterways. So we actually have a lot of environmental requirements that we have to meet to maintain that system and to keep that water as clean as possible. So as you can imagine, that program is expensive. It costs the city about $2.2 million a year to manage our stormwater program. That is money that we are required to spend, but no one is giving us that money. And so we have state and federal mandates that we have to follow to maintain that program. And up until this year, that program has been funded with the general fund. So it's been funded through your tax dollars. But one of the fun thing about budget is with the general fund, I actually have to compete for money. It's actually really fun. They put all of us in a boxing ring, and fire and police usually win. But that's usually how it works. City staff is having to prioritize funds. City council is having to prioritize funds. And so there's a lot of competing interest in that general fund. And so we were looking for a way so that I don't have to compete with the new police chief, because I haven't met him yet and I don't want to take any money from him. But we had to look for a way to kind of make it less competitive in the general fund. And so we opted to create a new stormwater fund. And that fund will be paid for completely by stormwater fees. That's a new stormwater compliance fee. Now, this fund is incredibly transparent. Your stormwater fees can only go towards stormwater activities. And that fund is all under me, so I watch all of it. But that does create a transparent, dedicated, sustainable revenue source so that we can continue to meet these mandates year over year without creating that pressure in the general fund. Sound good? Everyone nod for now. Fake it till you make it, guys. Promise there's going to be chances to ask questions. The next question with a new fee is, how did you calculate the fee? Is it going to be equitable? Who's paying? Who's not? So with the new stormwater fee, it'll actually be paid for by residents as well as commercial property owners. So our businesses are paying as well. And we're actually looking at how much you contribute to the stormwater system. So if you have a pretty decent sized property with a driveway, you're contributing just a little bit to the stormwater system. If you have a huge warehouse or a really large parking lot that you fill with customers, you're going to be contributing much more to the stormwater system. And that's because of impervious area. Now remember, I said there were going to be some technical pieces in this. Impervious area is one of those technicalities. Impervious area means that it cannot be penetrated by water. Therefore, it's contributing to the system. So your driveways, your porches, the foundation under your home. So we actually took GIS data to look at how much impervious area every Sugar Land resident and business has. And then we ran a really cool high-tech model that's incredibly complicated, but I'm working really hard to understand it. And then we came out with 3 different tiers. And so we were able to figure out how much residents would be paying. The average Sugar Lander will pay $296 per month, beginning in January with the new stormwater compliance fee. Now, as you can see from this beautiful graph, that's pretty low compared to other cities. That's because we don't have any huge capital improvement projects involved in this. This is just to keep us at daily operations. So beginning in January, Sugar Landers will see a new $3 bill on their water bill. So you'll see your water usage, you'll see your solid waste bill, that one's my favorite, and then you'll see the new stormwater bill for that $3 a month. Now I mentioned there were 3 tiers, so that means some of you are going to pay a little less than $3 a month, some of you will pay a little more, but the average Sugar Land household will pay $3 a month. It's capped at that little more amount, so no Sugar Land resident will pay more than $5 a month. Now we're going to talk about solid waste. I'll come back at the end to get questions about stormwater, okay? Now, I mentioned changes are coming in January for the stormwater fee. They're also coming in January for the solid waste contract. That new contract, which we spent a lot of time working on, we actually had a solid waste task force that was appointed by the city manager last summer. It was made up of 16 residents, and they gave me lots of feedback. They also got feedback from you. We did an online town hall. We had a statistically valid survey. You told us everything you wanted to tell us about trash. And we actually brought all of that into those contract negotiations. City Council directed us to move forward entering a new contract with Republic because they received the most points during our request for proposals process. When I say they received the most points, there were 3 bidders. They all submitted a different bid. Those bids were then brought to a scoring committee, and we presented those scores to City Council. And because Republic received the most points, that's the contractor that we move forward with. And when we entered negotiations with them, we found 4 core areas of change that we thought would benefit Sugar Land, make Sugar Land sweeter, because it is already sweet. And these are those 4 changes. The first one is your service days. Now, there are some neighborhoods in Sugar Land that are going to experience service days beginning in January. Why? That's because we're actually optimizing your routes. I didn't just say eeny, meeny, miny, mo and pick which neighborhoods. We're actually trying to get those trash trucks in your neighborhood and out of your neighborhood as efficiently as possible. We would really like to have them out before the kids get home from school, before you go to take a walk with your dog, before everyone's moving and grooving in the evenings. So that's why we're optimizing routes. The next change is your green waste. How many of you bag your green waste? Awesome. How many of you have a landscaper that does it? Awesome. This information is for you and your landscaper. Beginning in January, if you bag your green waste, it has to be in a clear bag. I'm hoping that's not new information. I've been putting it everywhere. But clear bags will be required for 2 reasons. The first one being contamination. If something is in a trash bag and it's put out on your green waste day, it might get mixed in with the green waste. So if you ate Buffalo Wild Wings the night before and it gets in the green waste truck, it gets really gross. The second reason is FEMA. FEMA actually requires the city to utilize clear bags in the event of an emergency situation like a hurricane or a freeze event. And so those clear bags, if we don't use them, we actually lose reimbursement funds. So in order to get as much reimbursement as possible during those emergency events, the city is requiring a clear bag year round. So I don't have to come door to door during a hurricane and tell you, get your clear bags out. We're actually going to be doing it year round. The next change is your bulky waste days. Who in here knows their bulky waste Monday? I am so proud of you, especially city staff. Keep paying attention. I'm now changing your bulky waste day. I know, but I have a reason. Whenever we were doing that intense community engagement last year, we asked you how often you want bulky waste, and none of you could agree. Some of you said twice a week. Some of you said twice a year. Some of you said, I don't care, I'm just going to put it out. And so we actually opted for a more flexible option where you use your bulky waste as you need it. Sugar Land's very diverse. We want to meet the diverse needs of every household. So every resident will still get 12 bulky waste pickups a year. They just won't be on the same Monday every month. They'll be scheduled as you need it. I'm not touching the holiday bulky waste. Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's, you'll still have 3 bulky waste days. So your number of bulky waste isn't changing, it's just how you schedule it. The final change is customer service. Right now, if you have a solid waste question, more than likely you're calling 311. In the future, we would really like you to call Republic first. The main reason for that is the number of people. When you call 311, it gets dispatched to one of my guys. It gets dispatched to someone at Republic. It gets dispatched to their supervisor. If you call Republic directly, it gets straight to the source quickly. We also have some other customer service enhancements coming. The first one being GPS. Every single truck in Sugar Land will have GPS on it, which means I can see it. It also means you can see it. With a new app that Republic is rolling out, you will be able to track your trash truck. You will be able to see how many stops it is from your home. We'll also have cameras aboard those trucks so that we can monitor the performance of the contractor and make sure that everything is happening the way it's supposed to in your neighborhoods. I mentioned before we had service day changes. These are the 5 neighborhoods in District 2 that will be experiencing service day changes. There are no changes in District 4. Sound good? I'm not picking favorites, I promise. There are a few other additional enhancements. The first one being a new landfill drop-off. If you run out of bulky waste days, or if something happens and you need to clean out your garage tomorrow, you now have the option to drive to the landfill and drop off your bulky waste. You can do that up to once a month, 3 cubic yards a month, throughout the entire year. So you get your 12 bulky waste pickups, you get your 3 holiday pickups, now you get an additional 12 landfill drop-offs. All of that is included in your rate. I mentioned before the new Republic app. It's not just for tracking your trash truck. You can also look at your schedule. You can submit a question or an inquiry. You can schedule a pickup. You don't even have to talk to a human. You can schedule it through the app. I'm hearing cheers. I'm really excited right now. The last change is your rate. It's going down. All of those enhancements we walked you through. City staff and city council have worked very hard to keep that rate as low as possible. So year over year, the impact to your wallet and the impact to your household isn't so intense. So your rate will be going down beginning in January as well. Now, I walked you through all the changes. Now I'm going to walk you through those tools that I mentioned that are going to help you navigate the changes. The first one is for that stormwater compliance fee. If you visit sugarlandtx.gov/SCF, you can learn more about the stormwater program and the new stormwater compliance fee. Outside, we have some of these cards. Please stop by my table and get them if you don't have them already. You can go to this website using this card. Once you get on that website, you can see frequently asked questions asked by your neighbors. You can learn more about our stormwater program and all the activities it involves. You can also submit a question to stormwater staff, which means it comes directly to me, so I can answer it as quickly as possible. You can also utilize our new Find My Stormwater Compliance Fee tool. You type in your address, residential or commercial, and it'll tell you what your projected fee will be beginning in January. Solid waste. I know I talked about a bunch of changes. We have a lot of tools to help you navigate those changes. You can visit sugarlandtx.gov/changes coming. Again, you can review those frequently asked questions. You can learn more about our solid waste program, which is a lot bigger than you might think it is. You can also submit a question to solid waste staff. Again, it comes directly to me. You can utilize a new Find My Service Day tool. If your neighborhoods is one of those neighborhoods that's going to have a service day change, you can actually enter your address and it will tell you what your new service days will be. But you don't have to do it on the tool. We will also text you. If you sign up for text alerts through TextMyGov, I will be texting you to remind you to put your trash out, to help you get through the change in January. Right? That's pretty cool. Or kind of weird, but we're doing it. Any questions for solid waste or stormwater? Yes, ma'am.
So how did you figure out who pays how much fees? I know it's minimum, but how did you do that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go back to that slide for you. Yeah. So the question was, how do you calculate who pays what fees? So we look at
driveways, but then you also said, so taking all that in mind, like who has parking lot and all that, but the square footage, I mean, how did you come up with like the houses, why the fees are different?
So if you look at the graphic here, you'll see that we actually have the GIS data that calculates your square footage compared to your neighbors. So the square foot of the house plus the driveway, the patio, all the impervious cover. So the question was, how do you calculate it? We're really looking at this GIS data to help us do that. Yes, sir.
So we have been paying with the water bill, stormwater fee to, I guess is mandated by Fort Bend County. What happens to that money that we've been paying every month now? There's a stormwater fee in my water bill every month of $45, $50, $56 every month.
I believe you have a surface water bill on your water bill. That's for our surface water conversion, where we're actually turning that water into drinking water. That's a completely different bill than the stormwater bill. The stormwater bill you will not see on your bill until January. That's a brand new fee. Surface water is the one that you already have. And if I am correct, we're going to be seeing a change in that amount come January. I'm looking at, yeah. So this is a completely separate bill. We have some other changes on your bill next year, so it should even out. So you won't see that big of a change on your bill beginning in January. This is a completely new fee that you've never seen before. Yes, sir. So the question was, is this a new fee? Yes, it's a new fee. Then the second question is, how were we paying for it before? Originally, it was being paid for out of the general fund, which is paid for by taxes. Now it's being paid for by a user fee, just like the solid waste fund or the water fund that the city already has.
Include capital improvements, or is it the same thing as you said earlier, where it was just to get by?
Right now, this is to keep us at the current level of service, not with any capital improvement projects. It cost me $2.2 million this year. That's what the fees will bring in revenue.
So my question is, My question is, do we have any plan for the city, the general areas, to have recycled water to be used? And second question, follow-up question is that can I get 2 meters in a house so I can run my sprinkler system from one and the regular water from the other?
I am going to defer to someone who knows a lot more about water than I do. This is our Executive Director, Rob Valenzuela.
How you doing? So to answer your first question with respect to reuse water, so the city does have a plan for reuse water. That was actually a plan that we developed as part of our integrated water resource plan that we did a couple of years ago. Right now it's programmed in the out years, but it is part of the overall strategy and how we utilize and best utilize our water here in the city. We have multiple wastewater plants scattered throughout the city, so looking at where to put it, what type of demand is there for reuse water in that watershed, and kind of making those plans appropriate. So yes, there is plans there. Your second question was for the additional meter. Absolutely, that is a possibility. We can work with our Treasury folks to work with you on that.
Thank you.
One quick thing.
No worries. Just a clarification on electronic recycling. Is Republic Service going to handle that? Or we get to bring it to Saturday recycle days?
Not at this time. Our first priority was to get this big contract knocked out, but City Council has directed us to bring forward some options for electronics recycling, household hazardous waste recycling. For the time being, I'm sorry, the question was about electronic waste recycling, how residents can recycle their electronic waste. For the time being, we encourage residents to utilize the Fort Bend County Recycling Center in Rosenberg. We are working on bringing some options to City Council that include electronic waste, but that's the option that we have currently. Yes, sir.
Or you bring it to one of those Saturday things where you can bring it?
Yes,
for
sir.
free? Okay, thank you for clarification.
Yes, ma'am.
I just have a question. I read somewhere that you have those containers to catch the rainwater somewhere. How do we get hand?
Yes,
on those?
yes, ma'am. So the question was about rain barrels that capture water. Our Public Works Department, our Water Conservation Division in Public Works, actually does an event every year where residents can get those rain barrels at a discounted rate. And so if you keep an eye on the website, that information will be made available. And I know our social media team does a real hard push to make sure you're aware. So always follow the city Facebook page. And you can actually follow it on Facebook. You can select to follow the city. And that means that you'll see every single post made by the city. I do that because I'm kind of crazy. I got to see what they're talking about. But you can follow the city to find out more about rain barrels. Yes, ma'am.
Said that the bulk waste, now people can call and on demand, right? So my question is, wouldn't that put too many trucks on the road? Like right now it comes once a month in our neighborhood. Then everybody will be like, somebody's calling on Monday, somebody's doing Tuesday. I mean, isn't that?
Yeah, I can answer that question. So the question, oh, I think she stepped out. Well, the question was bulk waste. Isn't it less efficient to be doing it on demand? It's actually not. So right now in Sugar Land, on a monthly basis, less than a quarter of residents utilize their bulky waste pickup. So with this new program, instead of running the trucks through every single neighborhood every single month, we're only running them to your house in the neighborhood. I'm not having to go through the whole maze. I'm just having to hit your house and maybe 2 or 3 other homes that might have called in. Republic will be working on scheduling those collections to make it efficient. So if you call and then your neighbor calls, they're probably going to put you on the same pickup. Yes, ma'am. Any other questions? All right, I'm going to let them take over. Thank you guys so much.
Wow, this has been really engaging, and I want to really thank the citizens to come out. The staff, we're always here. City Council, we're always here. But as I started earlier, we're here the first, third, and fourth Tuesday. Come join us. We start at 5:30, and we'd love to see you all. And come join Paulina and her team as well. But this is not fun unless we're able to engage with our citizens. And we truly, truly want to thank you for taking time out on a Monday night The day before Election Day, I want to remind everyone, if you haven't voted, tomorrow is the last day, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. City Hall will be open for you to cast your ballot. But please make sure that you exercise your right to vote. And Carol, you have any parting words?
Yes, thank you again for coming. We really appreciate you being here tonight with us. And thank you to those who are watching on live stream. And we always have opportunities for people to get more involved with the city by participating on boards, commissions, task force by the citizens. We also have Sugarland Citizens Police and Fire and Airport Academies. So there's a lot of ways to get involved in the city. So I encourage you to do so. So I'd like to thank staff for the great job all of you did tonight, for your support. We really appreciate that.
They prep us well.
And I particularly like to thank Jessica, Cindy, Devin, and Georgia for their help. And so again, we will be here, be happy to answer questions, one-on-one with you, and staff will probably be here for a few minutes. And yes, and again, we have heard Avalon at Telfair. We're committed to having a good long-term solution to the traffic issues that you're having. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.